Will Ja Morant get his career back on track? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my series where I've been breaking down each individual NBA team one by one, analyzing their offseason by taking a look at their transactions to give viewers an understanding on how I think their favorite teams will perform this upcoming season. The team today that we'll look at is the Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizzlies won 51 games, finishing in the second seed in the Western Conference. This was the second consecutive season for the Grizzlies to finish second. The team, however, did have some drama late in the season. Ja Morant was pictured with a gun inside of a nightclub. This caused a lot of issues. Memphis sent him away, and then the NBA slapped him with an 8-game suspension. Morant, however, did return for the playoffs. Speaking of the playoffs, first round, Grizzlies versus Lakers. Game 1, the Grizzlies were beat pretty bad. Game 2, the Grizzlies came back, won in a blowout fashion, brought some hope for the team. However, the Lakers won 3 out of the next 4 games and knocked out Memphis. This sort of caps a disappointing season. The regular season in many ways was a success. The playoffs, losing in the first round, was a major disappointment. The issue stemmed with Morant was a disappointment. Continuing on the disappointing trajectory, Memphis was served with some very bad news to start the offseason. Morant was pictured with a gun in a video, and it caused all sorts of backlash, a lot of disappointment for him within the franchise, throughout the league. And the NBA came down, and they came down pretty hard on Morant, and they suspended him for 25 games without pay. He is allowed to practice with the team. He can join team activities, but this is a very serious punishment, and hopefully something that Morant will take very seriously and look to better himself with his company, and make sure that he's doing everything possible to get himself right, and just being available for a Memphis Grizzlies team that's done so much for him. Memphis had the 25th pick in the first round of the NBA draft, and they used that to draft Marcus Sasser. They ended up trading Marcus Sasser as well as Tyus Jones to acquire Marcus Smart. Smart was a former Defensive Player of the Year, and last year he averaged 11.5 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists, 1.5 steal, while shooting 42% from the field and 34% from 3. He's a defensive ace, and him and Jaren Jackson will become the new best defensive duo in basketball. It's a great add for Memphis, a team that didn't really have the most physicality and defensive toughness. And Marcus Smart will be a guy that not only brings it himself, will push his team, is a great leader, and it's the type of guy that you always want on your team, but you never want to face him. Losing Tyus Jones will be big. Tyus was the backup point guard for Memphis for a few seasons. He stepped in when Ja Morant was hurt or suspended last season, and he averaged 10 points, 5 assists, while shooting 44% from the field and 37% from 3. So it'll definitely be a big miss for Memphis. And then in the second round of the NBA draft, the Grizzlies drafted Greg Jackson II, as well as Tariq Biberovich. So Greg averaged 15 points, 6 rebounds, and almost a steal and a block a game. He signed on a 2-way deal, so I don't expect him to play much at all this year. And Tariq is still playing overseas, so he did not sign an NBA contract, and he will not be available for the team to play. The Grizzlies were involved in a significant sign-and trade where they sent out guard forward Dillon Brooks to the Houston Rockets in exchange for Josh Christopher as well as Vanja Markinovic. The trade didn't result in much, though, as Josh Christopher was waived in late September, and Markinovic is still playing in the EuroLeague and will not be part of the team. So essentially, they lost the tough defensive nature of Dillon Brooks for nothing. Next, we look at another minor trade that was made by the Grizzlies. They basically sent out 3 second-round picks in exchange for first-round swaps with the Phoenix Suns in 2024 and 2030. The 2024 swap probably won't mean much, But the 2030 swap is very much a variable pick that could become lottery. They also did acquire Isaiah Todd. However, just like one of the other trades, they did release Isaiah Todd, so they didn't get any player impacts with this move that they just made. The Grizzlies exercised the option on Xavier Tillman's contract to bring him back to the team. Tillman was an effective big man last year, averaging 7 points, 5 rebounds, 1 steal while shooting 61% from the field. He will play the backup 5 and back up Steven Adams. Next, in terms of free agency, Memphis only made one real significant move, and that was signing former MVP Derrick Rose. So Derrick was signed to 2 years for the minimum. Last year he was seldom used. He barely played with New York, but in limited playing time he averaged 6 points while shooting 38% from the field. I believe he'll be the backup point guard until Ja Morant's suspension situation is resolved. Even when Morant comes back, I think he might have a role with this team. He's a tough leader. He's still good at driving to the basket. He was never the best 3-point shooter, but he can still be an option for this team, and hopefully he'll get some minutes. Finally, the team extended the contract of Desmond Bane for 5 years and $197 million. They made a very big commitment to Desmond and wanted to establish him as their cornerstone of the franchise, and he's definitely deserved it. Last year, he averaged a career high 21 points with 5 rebounds and 4 assists, while shooting 48% from the field and 41% from 3. He's just a quality player. He's a great shooter, and he'll be in Memphis for many years to come. Overall, the Grizzlies at full strength have a very dynamic lineup. We have Ja Morant, then we have Marcus Smart, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Steven Adams. A very strong defensive lineup and one that's very capable to score, but is going to bring it every night. They got more toughness with Marcus Smart, Jaren Jackson Jr., one of the best defenders in the league that averaged 3 blocks a game last season. Steven Adams, he's one of the best rebounders in the league. Desmond Bane, biggest biceps in the league. Just kidding, but this team is legitimate. The weakness does lie in the bench. Luke Kennard is their best bench option, and he's a fantastic shooter. Career 43.7% from the field. And besides that, though, they lack a lot of offensive firepower from the bench. They have guys like Roddy, Santi Aldama, and Xavier Tillman. They're good players, but they're not great. I think they really require 1 or 2 trades to improve the bench unit. But I believe this team will make it back to the playoffs. They will not be a top 2 seed like the previous 2 seasons. And they do have a lot of potential still to make a run, to get Ja Morant on the right track and have another good season. If you liked the video, please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. Thank you so much.